Jane Wyman's life reads like a long, hard-won ascent shaped by discipline, disappointment, and a determination that never seemed to fade. Born Sarah Jane Mayfield in 1917 in St. Joseph, Missouri, she entered the world already surrounded by instability. Her father worked grueling hours for a meal company, her mother typed medical notes to keep money in the house, and tension grew as her father drank more heavily. By the age of 4, she had watched her parents' marriage fall apart, and a year later she lost her father to a stomach ulcer. His death made her an orphan, and she was taken in by Emma and Richard folks, neighbors whose household ran on strict order rather than warmth. Richard, a chief of detectives, kept the children on an unbending schedule, and the young girl, now known as Sarah Jane folks, felt constantly corrected and restrained. Throughout her childhood she tried to find her place but kept running into limitations. When the family relocated to Los Angeles in 1930, she was a 13-year-old outsider mocked for her accent and shabby clothes. Hollywood had always been a distant dream, but actual auditions ended in rejection. Those early failures stung, yet they planted the fierce determination that would later define her career. At 15 she dropped out of school, left Missouri, and joined a vaudeville roadshow as a chorus dancer. The work was exhausting, long hours, terrible food, cramped beds, but she kept moving, taking odd jobs to survive. Manicurist, switchboard operator, anything that allowed her to stay close to the world she hoped would one day include her. She began picking up tiny film roles in The Kid from Spain and Gold Diggers of 1933, using the name Jane Durrell as she tried to shape a new identity. That same year, only 16, she secretly married Ernest Eugene Wyman after lying about her age. The marriage soured quickly, marked by jealousy and fights, and ended 2 years later. Yet she held on to his surname, a decision that would eventually give Hollywood the name Jane Wyman. In 1936 she signed with Warner Brothers for $65 a week, far less than her male counterparts, and was placed in a string of small, often forgettable roles. The studio pushed her into publicity photographs meant only to attract male audiences, but she continued working relentlessly, appearing in 13 films in 1937 alone. Her first real breakthrough came in Brother Rat in 1938 with Ronald Reagan. It was her first speaking role, and for the first time people began to appreciate her ability. That same year she went on strike demanding equal pay, calling attention to the enormous wage gap between male and female actors. Her talent grew more visible in dramas like Tailspin in 1939, though the studio kept her confined to side parts. She pushed anyway, even challenging script decisions in Larceny Incorporated in 1942, an almost unheard-of move for an actress at the time. Her persistence paid off as the film earned more than $1 million and showed that she was more than the sweet girl next door. Wyman's relationship with Ronald Reagan began shortly after Brother Rat. Though he hesitated, she clung to him deeply. After an attempt on her own life, he agreed to marry her, but she later admitted she regretted the wedding almost immediately. They adopted 2 children, but their marriage slowly fractured under career pressures, personal differences, and Reagan's growing involvement with the FBI, where he quietly reported on suspected communists in Hollywood. Wyman felt watched, isolated, and increasingly alone. A devastating blow struck in 1947, when their premature daughter Christine died within hours of birth. The loss crushed her, and she felt abandoned by Reagan, who was away filming. By 1948 they had separated, and the divorce became final the next year. Her claim of mental cruelty later played a small part in Reagan's support of no-fault divorce legislation years down the road. Professionally, Wyman reached new heights. The Yearling in 1946 pushed her through grueling conditions, but the authenticity she fought for earned her an Oscar nomination. Johnny Belinda in 1948 transformed her career entirely. She played a deaf-mute woman who is assaulted, a role that demanded months of preparation and emotional exhaustion. She plugged her ears with wax, lived in silence, learned sign language, and endured multiple takes of a harrowing attack scene. Her performance won her the Academy Award for Best Actress, but the toll of the role lingered in her mind for years. Her work through the 1950s showed the same intensity. She collapsed during filming of The Blue Veil from sheer exhaustion, fought for lost scenes in So Big, and struggled through a volatile marriage to Fred Karger that ended, began again, and finally collapsed for good. Her personal life remained complicated, but her performances in films like Magnificent Obsession, and all that heaven allows kept her among Hollywood's most admired talents. Tired of being pigeonholed into tragic or aging roles, she turned to television. From 1955 to 1958, she hosted and produced Jane Wyman Presents the Fireside Theater, one of the first anthology series led by a woman. She steered nearly 200 episodes while hiding the symptoms of menopause and winning her time slot in the ratings. Her later work in NBC's Summer Playhouse reinforced her growing insistence on creative control, something almost no woman in television claimed in the early 1960s. But by 1961, something inside her began to fracture. She appeared in an episode of Checkmate that featured a disturbing scene drawing from emotional trauma she had carried for years. Audiences never knew what it dredged up for her, but afterward she seemed shaken. Her lifelong struggle with type 1 diabetes was worsening, and the work demanded more of her than her health could sustain. She rejected roles that mocked older women or turned them into grotesque caricatures, including the fierce lead in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Hollywood didn't appreciate her honesty when she criticized the industry's treatment of women over 40, and opportunities began to dry up. By 1962, she stepped away from television entirely. Her withdrawal was not dramatic but deliberate. She moved to Rancho Mirage, devoted herself to painting and philanthropy, and quietly began therapy to dismantle the pain she had carried since childhood. Her conversion to Catholicism in 1958 deepened her introspection and shaped the kind of work she was willing to accept. At home, she fought rheumatoid arthritis, burned old letters from Reagan to finally close that chapter, and attempted to build a private life far from the demands of Hollywood. In the 1970s, she made only scattered appearances on television. She endured the deaths of her daughter Maureen and her former husband, yet remained grounded in her faith and charity work. No one expected her full return until 1981, when she shocked the industry by accepting the lead role in Falcon Crest. At 64, she negotiated a record-breaking salary and veto power over scripts, along with a co-producer credit. Her portrayal of the formidable Angela Channing energized the series and restored her status as a commanding force on screen. Even as her health faltered, diabetes, liver problems, surgeries, she kept performing, often pushing through pain and filming from a wheelchair when she could. By the time she retired in 1993, she had shaped a career defined not only by talent, but also by a refusal to shrink under pressure.